Hi, I'm going to start on the back of your sheet, the top 10 things you need to know about the TI-84 graphing calculator. Of course, some of you don't necessarily have a TI-84. Some of you have this TI-84 Plus like I do. So some things might be slightly different depending on the model of graphing calculator that you have. But if you have any questions, maybe ask the people around you or write them down for me when I get back, and I can help you figure out some of these settings on your calculator. So first thing you need to know is how to turn on the calculator. So if you look at mine here, the on button is here in the bottom left corner. So the button just says on. Go ahead and turn your calculator on now. And you also need to know how to turn it off. So to turn off the graphing calculator, you hit the second button, which is this blue button here, and then press the on button again. See how it says off in blue up here? When you hit the second button, that makes all of these other buttons do whatever the function is in blue on top of them. So to turn off the graphing calculator, we hit second off. Next, if you turn on your calculator again, we have the alpha button, which a lot of you will like, this green button. So again, if you press this green button, I'm going to go ahead and clear mine. Press the green button. All of the green letters above the key on the keys are activated. So I can type my name. Where's R? I-N. So that's the alpha button. That's how you get the letters. If you hit second in the alpha button, it's alpha lock. So you can just continue to type with the alpha lock button. So alpha button right here in green says alpha. You can adjust the brightness of your calculator. To do that, hit the second button again, second, and notice that these arrows here, they have the little suns in blue. So if you do the up arrow, you have to keep pressing second. It gets brighter. And if you hit second down arrow, second down arrow, second down arrow, second down arrow, it gets darker. So second up arrow or down arrow adjusts the brightness of the calculator. To unmess up the calculator, so I want to get rid of all this, you can press the clear button, which is right here under the arrows. Clear. So that says clear. You can quit. So like if I'm somewhere that I don't want to be and I want to get back to that original screen, hit the second button, second, and then this mode button, notice in blue on top, it says quit. So second and the mode button. This one's important, put a big star. To reset your calculator, which you'll have to do before the EOC for sure, you hit the second button, the plus sign, because notice above the plus sign it says mem for memory. Then choose number 1 because we want to, or not number 1, I'm sorry, second plus number 7 for reset. So you can just press number 7 or you can scroll down. Number 1, because I want to reset all RAM, so you can just press enter at this point. And then number 2, because yes, I'm sure that I want to reset the calculator. If you've reset it, you should get this screen that says RAM cleared. So the equal sign, say I want to do 2 times 2. The equal sign is just the enter button here. That equals 4. The entry button, if I hit second, the enter button for entry, it repeats what I just typed. So I can do it again. So second, the enter button for entry. It just repeats what I just typed. So if you type like a big long expression and you make a mistake, you can then go backwards with the arrows and fix it. Because say I wanted to do 2 times -2. Then I can just fix it that way. So the second enter button is entry. Fractions. So 0.25, 25 hundredths, I want to change to a fraction. So I would type in 25 hundredths to my calculator. Then I go to the mode button. Not the mode button, I'm sorry. Second, quit, to go back. So type in 0.25, I go to the math button, the other M. So math button, math. And number 1 is fraction. So press enter, and it's saying I want to change 0.25 to a fraction. Oh, messed up. There we go. So lesson learned, make sure you do 0.25. So I'll do that one again. So 0.25, type it in, and then hit the math button and choose number 1 for fraction and press enter. And it's 1/4. So press number 1 for fraction. Make sure, circle that really big on your paper, that it's 0.25. So if I want to do another one, if I want to change 0.148 to a fraction, type it in, press math and number 1, and it's 37/250. Now, say I want to use this answer, I don't want to type it in again, and I want to multiply it by something. If you just press second and this negative symbol down here, second negative symbol, see how it says ANS in blue? Press enter, and there's your answer. So say I go second ANS times 2. I don't have to type in that fraction again, it's just going to multiply it by 2. So previous answer is second, and then the negative button. Speaking of the negative button, make sure you know the difference between the negative and the subtraction. The negative button is right here in the parentheses. The subtraction button is right here above the plus sign. They're not the same thing. So if you want to type in -2, you have to use the negative button. Graphing buttons to graph. Go to y equals. This is where you type your equation for the graphing button to graph. So like 2 plus 3, type in this, 2 plus 3x, which is an arithmetic sequence. The X button is right here. It says XT, a little circle with a line through it, and N. That's how you type that in. To adjust your window, you press this button here that says window. X-min, draw this on your paper, means that on the x-axis, it's the smallest number. X-max means on the x-axis, that's the largest number. Y-max is the largest y value. Y-min is the smallest y value. So the default is that the graph goes from -10 to +10 on both axes. But you can just adjust that. All right, I'm back. Mr. Warwick stopped in for a visit, so I'll be honest, I forget what I was saying, but I'm pretty sure we were adjusting the window. Standard window is -10 to +10 on the x-axis, -10 to +10 on the y-axis. And then you can adjust that however you want. This X scale here is saying this is what we're counting by on the x-axis. So it's at 1s now, which means that each line is 1. Y scale, each line is 1 as well. So you can adjust that, 5, 10, 20, whatever. Let's go ahead and hit graph for now so I can show you zoom next. So graph, I'm moving down here to E. Just hit the graph button and we see our line. Of course, remember your arithmetic sequences are linear. So we have a straight line here, goes on forever. If there's a specific part of the graph that you want to see, you can use the zoom button. So if I hit zoom, I can zoom in. So choose number 2 for zoom in. The trick is that, see this blinking cursor right here? Move it to whatever you want to zoom in on. So if I want to zoom in on the y-intercept, I press enter. And I can see very clearly now that the y-intercept is 2. If you hit your window again, press window, see how the window now is not -10 to +10, -2.5 to +2.5, because we zoomed in. You can also zoom out. So if you zoom out, then just go wherever part of the graph you want to zoom out from, press enter, and it'll zoom out. To trace, if you hit the trace button, notice that here is my equation that I typed into, the y equals, and then here is the x coordinate and the y coordinate for the point that the cursor is blinking on. So I'm going to zoom in again. Let's zoom in on the y-intercept again. So then I can use my trace to just move this cursor, and notice that it's only letting you move on the line. Move this cursor to where it looks like the y-intercept is. Now you can't get it exact because notice -0.01, that's very close to 0, and 1.9 is very close to 2, it rounds to 2. So 0.2 would be my y-intercept. All right, last thing is mode. If you hit mode, these are all the different things that you can do, and we'll talk about this more with the calculator. But first, this normal is blinking. You go over here to SCI, that puts it in scientific notation. We'll scroll down. We'll talk later. This fraction type numerator denominator, if you switch it by pressing the over arrow, that would make it a improper fraction all the time. So we want numerator denominator because you want proper fractions. We'll work with this diagnostics later in the year. Set the clock, set the language if you want to. That's everything I know about the mode section. So that's what you need to know for now for your calculator. Go ahead and turn it off, second on button, and move on.